Hey guys, Uncommon Ramen here. Today I wanted to take a look at a game that is, or was at some point in time, really relatively difficult to find, that I've always been curious about, but didn't have the means to grab it at the time, and that is going to be Gizmos. So before I go into any details about this, if you like the video, please go ahead and like and subscribe. And if you feel the need to support me, hit me up on my Patreon channel at patreon.com/uncommonramen, capital U, capital R. I do all of this in my free time, so any amount of support can help me make more of this content and bring it to you. So Gizmos was a game made by Cool Mini or Not, that it kind of went out of print relatively quickly, and I don't know if that has anything to do with the Asmodee acquisition or how that all works out, but it went out of print relatively quickly, and copies for it at a decent price were almost impossible to find. It was very difficult to find it at near or at retail price. At one point in time when I was looking it up, when I first got interested in it, I was finding copies well over $200. Nowadays, I don't know what happened or what changed. Maybe the game itself just wasn't as appealing as people had thought it was. People are selling their copies for pretty much close to retail value or much less, and I ended up getting this copy for much less than retail value. I did end up finding it from a third party, so it was sold to me used. However, the cards that were in here and pretty much the entirety of the game had remained unpunched. So the only thing that was removed was the shrink wrap around the game box itself. And the game box itself is in incredible condition. So it's kind of shocking. So anyway, we're going to take a look inside of this. This is a unique game because it has a mechanic that I believe it was the first one to take advantage of. And that is its marble tower. So you're going to see similar mechanics like this, and I'm talking about this guy right here, that are used in a lot more recent games. The most notable one being Golem, that uses something very similar to this, where you have marbles or beads that go into a specific structure, and then they come out in a random order. But this is the first time I had ever seen that mechanic being used, and I think in total I've only actually seen it 3 times, this being one of them. So it's a very interesting mechanic, but what it is it's the currency, I suppose, for this. Each of these marbles represents a different type of energy, and they come out randomly, and you have to use the energy that comes out in this thing to create gizmos to build an engine that combos really well. And it's just a really interesting game. The rule book is pretty small, so it doesn't look like it could be too difficult, and that's something that I really appreciate about a game like this. And the funny part is that despite the fact that it was something that Cool Mini or Not had produced, the game itself has no minis in it, and that's not unusual for Cool Mini or Not. Tentacle Bento and Xenoshift Onslaught, and actually the Xenoshift series in general, did not have miniatures either. But it's just something that I found a little bit strange. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is that little bead delivery system. So this is the top half of it, and you can see essentially what happens is the beads will funnel themselves down into here, and then that chute comes out over here, and you'll have a random set of beads that come out. So now we will grab the secondary part of it, which is the screen that goes in front of it. So it has this little screen here that pops together in a kind of trapezoid type of shape, like this. And then you just place that in here, and I'm going to go ahead and do that really quickly, or as quickly as I possibly can. So it ends up looking like this. So you have essentially what looks like the outside of a claw machine with a little port for things to drop into. And the beads that I'm talking about, or I should say marbles, are going to be these guys right here. So we're going to just pull these out. They're going everywhere. There are several different colors in here. We got red, blue, yellow, and black, and they all represent a different type of energy. And what you do is you toss these guys into the little machine here, and as you do so, it populates a random set of energy orbs right here in the front that you can use. And as you play the game, I'm just going to dump all of these in here. As you play the game and you take different energy, more energy will show up, and this is how you create your economy for the game. Some of the other things that you're going to have in here are these little rings here. These are your energy storage rings, and they are made of almost like a double layer cardboard, so it's a little bit thicker than you would normally get, and I don't know if I can get a good focus on that. There we go. So the cardboard is a little bit thicker than a normal cardboard piece would be, and the purpose of this thing is so that you can put your energy orbs in here. Hello? There we go. Without them slipping around the table all over the place. So it's just a clever design for keeping those little marbles together. Next up, there is a whole bunch of cardboard chits here, and these chits represent the victory points. So these are just your way of keeping track of how many victory points you have throughout the course of this game. So I'm just going to put those aside. And you're also going to have 4 of these little half pieces of board almost that represent the different inventions that you have on file that you're building or you're researching, so on and so forth. And it talks about, you know, upgrades and so on and so forth. It is single-sided, and there are 4 of these available. Okay. And then the very last thing that's in here, and I guess it's the meat of the game here, is you're going to have a bunch of cards in here. Let me just make sure I have these in the right order. Yep. You're going to have a bunch of cards in here that represent the different inventions that you're going to be making. And the thing about it that's really kind of promoting of imagination here is that they don't really have names. They have abilities, and they have a picture of what they are to kind of help you figure out what kind of energy you need to get them and what exactly they do. But aside from that, it's just the picture and the name. And there's several... Actually, we'll take a look at that right now. There's several levels of these. The level 0 cards right here are starter cards, so everyone's going to start with one of those. And then they have level 3 gadgets, or gizmos, I guess, level 2 gizmos, and level 1 gizmos. And so these front ones are just your level 1 gizmos. And again, it's just a picture and some iconography depicting what it is that these guys can do. And what you're trying to do with these is you're trying to combine them in a way that creates the best synergy, or the most efficient synergy, so that you can combo off and get the most victory points. And I guess the premise that I didn't talk about here was that you are a group of geniuses competing in a science fair to win the first prize. So it just has a bunch of these gizmos that you're trying to connect together to make your machine work. And I suppose you can basically dub the machine whatever you want, depending on how the engine works and so on and so forth. Once you've finished, you know, I guess finished the game. But yeah, it gives you a little bit of flavor as far as the pictures are concerned to help you kind of imagine what you're doing with this machine. And I guess these, now we're in the level 2 gizmos, and these jumped in cost a little bit. And it looks like some of these allow you to straight up pick certain types of energy and so on and so forth. There's quite a bit of cards in here. And you set these up essentially so that I believe you have your level 1 gizmos in a pyramid at the bottom, which is going to be closest to the players, and then the level 2 gizmos are above those, and then the level 3 gizmos are above those in a smaller amount. And I think we're now in the level 3 gizmos, which I guess you can tell the difference with these guys because they have a totally different top end. And I'm kind of really interested in the fact that they don't have names for any of these gizmos, so it's actually kind of, it really does lend to the ability for you to be the storyteller and kind of and explain what it is that you're building if you have the imagination to do so and you're so inclined to do so. But I guess it gives you the taste of being that mad scientist, creating all these wacky gizmos to do some very strange thing, sometimes menial thing. Or one of these had a picture of a cat brush getting brushed. And as we keep going, we get closer and closer to the starting gizmos. And this is essentially the very first thing that you're going to have, which is just your workbench. And then you work from here to create this giant gizmo. And I think the part that really sold it for me was this interesting version of a resource system. You know, I don't know how this plays just yet, but I imagine that this is a very interesting way to randomize things, and it just, for me, it was super unique, despite the fact that it's not as if it's not unique. Like I said, I'm pretty sure there's only 3 other games that really take advantage of this little system here, but the concept came from the original Dice Towers that I believe started from a game called Macau, I think it's called, where you had this random seeding aspect of little colored cubes that you tossed in a dice tower. And this is very similar to that idea, but this time instead using little marbles, which are just plastic, for the record. Let's see if I can get a good focus on that. Yeah. So it's just a plastic marble with some bubbles inside of it. And like I said, one of the most recent games that are coming out with this concept, it's on pre-order right now, is Golem. But the system for delivering the marbles is much more intricate because there's several different channels that it jumps into. So anyway, that is Gizmo. Yeah, if you have any questions or comments, leave those down below. But again, let's keep them positive. I will be removing any negative comments. And until next time, guys. Peace.